This experience started from a lucid dream. I was flying in the dream. I was flying over a city. It was kind of like a modern city. This was just a dream experience. And as I was flying, I gradually became more and more lucid to the point where I woke up in the dream. And as I was waking up in the dream disappeared, and what I refer to as the astral wind took over. The astral wind is where kind of like my current conscious self loses control or doesn't necessarily have control over my movement, and so I begin feeling. The dream environment disappeared, and I began feeling as if I was moving through a tunnel with like point lights in it, and I refer to that as the astral wind at the present point in time. The tunnel's extremely dark, but there are like these points of light everywhere. Over time, when I first began having OBE experiences, there were no kind of points of light. Everything was extremely dark as I was moving via the astral wind. But as I've become more experienced, I'm beginning to see these like dots of light in the tunnel, whereupon I'm experiencing the astral wind. So the astral wind took over, and I traveled via the astral wind for a period of time until I appeared in what looked like a mall sort of setting. And once I appeared, I did everything I could to bring my awareness to bring greater awareness to the experience. So I began looking. There was kind of like a wall to my right. I began looking at the wall, and then over to my left was another kind of like barrier wall, kind of up to about waist height, with grass on top, one of those sort of like wall barriers, and kind of like beautiful grass. So I began staring at the grass very intently, and that brought awareness to the situation. Last night when I went to bed, I had a bit of a stomach ache, and so as I was bringing awareness, I began feeling like I was returning to my body. And this was very quick. It must have been like, I don't know, 20 seconds. The awareness, I was super aware, and then suddenly I began feeling like returning to my body. I returned to my body, kept really still, as one does, and kind of imagine myself back in this area that I appeared, this large room with walls, kind of like in a mall setting that I appeared in. And when I appeared back, so I came back to my body, and then then I appeared back in the out of body state. I was on the floor, and I had vomited, and there were a bunch of people standing over me, looking at me strangely and asking me if I was okay, and very kind of weird. So I had vomited a bit, and so of course, in the astral, it was just very strange. I still have a bit of a stomach ache right now, but that's beside the point. So I got up and began walking around, and it looked like the cafeteria in a mall. It was a beautiful cafeteria in a mall, and it had people of all ages. There were young people, there were old people, there were middle-aged people. And so I began walking around this mall, a lot of people eating, sitting in chairs, and I went up to one old person and I said, why are you old? And he said, what do you mean, why am I old? I'm just old. And I said, but you don't have to be old. You can change your appearance to whatever appearance he wanted to. And then I turned away, and it almost was as if he disappeared for a second. And then like I turned away and then looked back, and it was when I looked back, it was as if he disappeared, and then he almost reappeared. He did reappear, and it was like he was old again. So I didn't quite know what happened there. That was kind of strange. Walked around a little bit more. Went over to the part of the cafeteria where they were serving food, and there was a counter. There was some bread on the counter. I kind of grabbed the bread and began eating it. My taste wasn't that, it was there, but it wasn't like hyper vivid. So like I was aware like I'm aware right now, but my awareness wasn't it what like this is just me at the moment. I guess my awareness wasn't I wasn't completely aware as if and didn't my senses weren't 100%, you know, like they are currently in the physical. I'd say that my sense awareness for taste was probably like 60%. Like I could taste the bread. Maybe it was the dimension I was in, but I could taste the bread, but it just wasn't, you know, it wasn't all that flavorful. Could have been me, could have been the dimension. Um, the people behind the counter were looking at me kind of strange. They were serving some other people, and then I walked over and grabbed a packet of what looked like chocolate. It looked like they were using money, which was very weird. And so, like, I opened the chocolate on the counter and began like eating it from the counter. These and the chocolate were like chocolate discs. These like 1 inch chocolate. I opened the packet and in the packet were these 1 inch chocolate discs, many of them. And then it was as if the lady behind the counter wanted money, or that's the intention or the expectation that I got from her. And so some of those chocolate discs actually just turned into coins, or you know, I just thought, okay, well, some of the chocolate discs will turn into coins. I read about this in a book also, where if they expect money, you know, then you know, obviously a portion of the food, or you can just create money. It's like they're not money, but if there's the expectation on their part that an exchange is necessary, then um, then you can just, you know, part of what you're creating or part of what you're consuming can very easily just turn into money. So I just imagine the chocolate discs turning into money, and she picked some of them up and did something with them behind the counter. Uh, so the chocolate also wasn't very intense in flavor. It was very unsatisfying in that respect. Again, I think this is just me and my degree of awareness in the environment, but could also be the environment. So I left the counter and began walking down one of the corridors leading out of what looked like a mall cafeteria. And I entered I began following this other lady, and we both she went into a shop, and so I decided to follow her into the shop. It's kind of like an Asian store, very strange. I wasn't paying attention much to this shop. I was more paying attention to this lady. And then I began talking with the lady, and it was as if she could tell that I was. You know, I asked, do you know that I'm like having an out of body experience right now? Can you tell? How can you tell? And she kind of looked behind me and then looked back at me and said, yeah, and then said it's just very difficult. And then she said it's very difficult being around you because your vibration's very different. You know, it's just. And then she quickly walked away, which is kind of strange. I asked her if she. I have a bit of a stomach ache, so I asked her, are you a doctor? Can you help with my stomach ache? And, you know, my physical body's not feeling very well right now. Is kind of like a long-term thing that I have going on. Are you capable? Do you know anything about that? It's like, of course not. She couldn't help me in that respect. And so she just kind of walked away. Now, over the course of this time, several times I returned to my body. One time I returned to my body and swallowed, and I just kept pretty still, or as still as I could, and then relaxed again, and sort of imagined myself back in the out-of-body state, and I would appear back in the out-of-body state. That maybe happened about 4 or 5 times, and then as I was walking out of this sort of Asian store, leaving the lady to go back down the corridor, or further down the corridor, I returned to my body, and I couldn't get back to the out-of-body state, so I returned to my body, and yeah, I was just basically in my body, and the further relaxing and the kind of imagining myself in the out of body state didn't work, and so you know, back here now. In terms of techniques, I I did the Michael Raduga's indirect techniques. I go through a cycle. I first visualize my hands in front of my face, rub my hands together, and then I feel myself, and then I relax, and I feel myself kind of rolling to the left, relax, feel myself rolling to the right, relax, rub my hands on the carpet around the room, try and touch everything I can. I do that, relax, do that again, and then try and swim out of my body, relax, try and swim out of my body again. I did that for about 40 minutes. And then I did Todd Akamisis's recent meditation, where you're repeating the mantra, I am light, I am light, while maintaining breath awareness. Not deep breath control, but just breath awareness. I wasn't doing like a 3-3-4 breath, which I sometimes do. I was just kind of like breathing in, no hold, and then breathing it out. And then periodically, his meditation, guided meditation on his YouTube channel, you breathe, then periodically you breathe in light into your your physical body, then your etheric body, then your astral body. So I was doing that, did that, but yeah, even about 30 minutes later, wasn't out. So this was maybe 60 or 70 minutes into the meditation, which I started at around 3:10 in the morning. Then I began, after that I began doing the swimming technique again, feeling like I was swimming. And then I ended up in the dream, and then woke up in the dream, flying. So the swimming was interesting, because I guess I was swimming and then... No, that didn't start. Swimming didn't turn directly into the flying dream, in fact. So yeah, the swimming did not turn into the flying dream. I was swimming, and then I fell asleep. I began dreaming. The dream did not start out as a flying dream, and then it turned into a flying dream, and then I became more lucid. In terms of supplements yesterday, I did take ashwagandha, and no other significant supplements. I took some ashwagandha about midday, but no other significant supplements. So yeah, it was an overall interesting experience. Nothing too enlightening. It was interesting throwing up in the out-of-body state. That was kind of unusual. I've never had that experience before. I have had experiences before where I've been in a lot of pain in the out-of-body state and appeared. But this time, I didn't feel any pain. I just kind of threw up and had a bunch of people looking over me, kind of like asking me if I was okay. I've had that happen before too, where I've been in quite pain, having other people ask me if I'm okay in the out-of-body state. It was interesting. I presume that the dimension I was on was kind of like not too near Earth. My hands weren't melting, so it wasn't extremely near Earth. It wasn't a very near Earth dimension, but yeah, my awareness wasn't all that clear. I mean, I had like maybe 70% of the awareness that I'd have in the physical dimension. I've had 100% or greater than 100% before, but this was about 70% awareness. So overall, an interesting experience. Nothing too profound. All right, see you next time.